Hi everyone, Heather from Woolly Elephant here. You've not seen me for a while, so I don't get a lot of time at the moment. This is a quick impromptu video, so you can see I'm still about, and I thought I'd show you a few of the things that I've been making over the last couple of months. I've not made a huge amount of things because I haven't got a whole lot of time these days. If you're interested in what's been going on, I'll talk about that at the end. And I'll let you know if you follow me and you want to know. But in the meantime, I thought I'd share some makes. So I will share links below for all the things that I've made. These are not my own patterns generally. These are ones that I have purchased or I've done from a video online. Okay, so I thought I'd try them out and tell you what I thought. Anyway, this is one of the first things. I did this a while ago, and these were all the rage one time over. They were like pencil pouches that you could pull down, and then the things would appear out of the top. So you pull it down at the sides, and then your pencils will stand above it. I've got some of my cat grooming things in here, the things I use the most, the things the cats hate the most. But I've put them in this pouch. Now, this video was by, hang on, let me just check. This was by Sewing Times on YouTube. And as much as I found it easy, it wasn't particularly difficult. There are easier videos. So you could go on, I will share the link for this video, so you can have a go. But I then had a Google around afterwards and looked at a couple of other of these videos on how to make these, and they did look like a couple of other ones, and there was one particularly that I thought was easier, so I'm going to share the link for that down below. But they're quite handy actually, so it's hidden away and it slides down. I'd always wanted to know how one of those worked, so I had a go at that. With some good way of using up some of your scrap fabrics, actually. Okay, if you wanted to know how to do this at the end as well, I have got a little video showing you how to put an end on a zip, a little fabric end on a zip easily like that as well for your bags and things. So that's number one. Now number two, this took me quite a while to make. This is not a quick make. This is called the Cabé bag by Studio 77. This is the pattern. Now I bought it as a bundle and it came with a backpack and a pencil case as well, which I haven't done either of those yet. I've not had time. But this is it, and it's designed really for keeping all your cables and things in. I think that's where the name comes from. Cabé, cables. So it's got two zippers on each side. Now my cables are a mess in here. So you've got, now I've just used various bits of binding that I've got or made my own, so everything won't necessarily match. So it is bound inside here, and you've got stretch fabric for the pockets, which is by Annie's mesh fabric that I got here. So I've got those on one side, and then open the other side. There we go. This one doesn't open all the way. It's got a gusset on either side of this one, and I've got some purple, a bit of purple binding in this side. Pink mesh pockets, and on that side I've got fabric pockets. So I usually put in these ones I put the little charging blocks, and then I put all my cables in the mesh sides. So there is a lot of pieces. I would say it's more intermediate to advanced. I wouldn't recommend it for a beginner. There is a zip there as well on the front, a zipper pocket there as well, and I haven't put one on the back, but you could put one on the back too as well if you wanted to. So this was just going to be a not quick, but I was just looking to make one, practice it to see what it was like to make it first before I made one. I was going to do one in faux leather. Anyway, I've never got around to that. This was a piece of fabric I didn't like sitting in my stash, but now I've made it up, I really like it. And isn't it funny that? I mean, do you find that? I find it really interesting sometimes how you can have fabrics you just don't like, but once you make them up, it came out really well. This was from a fabric fat quarter. It was from a fabric bundle, and it was the one fat quarter in the bundle that I didn't like, so I got the outside out of a fat quarter. Okay, so that's the Cabet bag. So I'd recommend having a go at that. Now, at the time, I wasn't in the best frame of mind, and I was ready for giving up by the time, and that is not down to the pattern. That was just because there was so many bits, and it takes quite a long time to make it, because you're making 2 zippered compartments, and you need, I was using what I had at the time, and you needed 6 zipper pulls. Well, I only had 5, hence I didn't put a zipper pocket on the other side, but it asked for double, so I just did it as in the pattern. But it's really good, and I believe this has been one of her most popular patterns. It's quite a nice little size. It would also make a nice little handbag. It'd be great for makeup and things like that, or especially I think for nail polishes. So that is the Cabet bag by Studio 77. It says an intermediate pattern there on the thing. That was a very pretty fabric. So there you go. That's that one. Now, what else have I made? Oh, I made, now this, I love this. This was by Charlie's Aunt. If you've ever seen Charlie's Aunt patterns, they're all vintage, retro style. And I wanted a big handbag. Again, this was my practice one. I've got my next one cut out. I think I cut it out before Christmas at the sewing club I go to, but I've never got round to making it up yet. But I do quite like this. This one my mother has claimed if I ever make myself another one, because she really wants it. Now this, as you can see, is a really big bag. But this was a really, I consider for a bag, quite a really easy make. Now you don't have to use faux leather. I wanted faux leather because I wanted to be able to put it on the floor. I've not bothered with bag feet or anything like that, because I've had problems with them breaking off before. And then having to reopen the lining to get in and put a new one in. So I've not bothered with bag feet. It's quite a heavy, I've used quite a heavy faux leather. I was donated a lot quite a few years ago from somebody I knew that worked at a sofa factory. And he brought me loads of the scraps from all the faux leather sweets and things he made. So this was a bit of that, so it's a nice weight. And this was canvas, not canvas, upholstery fabric. This was an upholstery fabric. So it didn't need too much, well I say it didn't need too much interfacing. If you want it to stand up like this, you do. It's got foam. I've got foam all the way through. Now I use, not the iron-on foam, the one without any adhesive on, because then you don't get the crinkling when you turn it through afterwards. And she had a great way in the pattern of putting in your foam, your non-iron-on foam. I used cotton woven interfacing, so I cut all the pieces out with cotton woven interfacing as well, and then I cut the foam out smaller than the pieces, so it wouldn't be in your seams, so that you could put it through your domestic machine. But to hold that in place, that's harder to do. You need to quilt it in place really, or something like that, if you're not ironing it on. But what she did was you ironed the interface and you centred the foam on the iron-on interface, and you centred it over so there was a seam allowance all around the edge of the iron-on interfacing. I used the woven one, the cotton woven one, and you pressed it onto that. You pressed the iron-on interfacing onto the foam. And then when you placed it onto your piece, you just pressed the edges onto the, you centred it onto your fabric, and then you pressed it all the way around on the seam allowance edges, and that stuck to your fabric and held it in place. And I thought that was ingenious. I've never seen that done before. One of those moments when you think, why have I never thought of that? But what a great idea. So that's what I did with this. So it has got foam in, and it has got cotton woven interfacing in, holding that on as well. And I've got that both on the the upholstery fabric and on the faux leather. Sorry, couldn't think of the word then. Faux leather fabric. But this was, like I say, this was not a difficult bag to make, and this was my practice one originally. So the inside, it's massive inside. I'll just take the junk out. Okay, so it is a massive bag inside, and it's got a zipper pocket in the back, and then two big slip pockets here, because I always put my phone in one of those and my purse in the zip pocket. So it's massive inside. Again, this was upholstery fabric. Here I got from Emmanuel's in Blackburn. I think it was from the pound room, so it only cost £1 a metre. So that was an absolute bargain. Just a regular dress zip in the back and one magnetic fastener. But if you used Velcro or you put a button, you could put, I'm not sure if on the pattern she had a button and like elastic you could put on as well. So you wouldn't need any hardware at all. There's no hardware on the straps. There was two options to do how to do the straps, and I decided to put them into the seam here. You need to measure yourself as well for the length of the straps, because I wanted a bag that just went over my shoulder. I didn't want crossbody and I didn't want a little grab strap. I just wanted one that would fit over my shoulder with my coat on. So remember that if you're ever making yourself a bag and you want to carry it on your shoulder and you're going to be wearing a coat, measure how long it needs to be while you're wearing, put your jumper on and your coat on, and then measure the length. Because I think there's nothing worse than you do straps and you to carry it like that, and then the straps just aren't long enough when you put your coat on. So that was a fabulous bag, and like I say, pretty easy to make. It didn't take me that long to make either. One day in the future, if I get a little bit of time, I have got one all cut out. I might just film me making it. I can't obviously give measurements and stuff like that because you'd have to buy the pattern. I will put a link in for the pattern, and I'm not promising that I'm going to do it, but I'm going to try and make a little video, whatever it is, whether it's me just making something or not, as and when I can. I only get a short amount of time at the moment. Anyway, try not to witter on too much because I want to keep this quite short. Now, yesterday, my husband had asked, we have obviously in the hall where all our coats hang, but there's nowhere to put all the gloves and hats, and both me as a knitter, I've got loads of hats and several different pairs of gloves, depending on how cold it is, as has he. He's got multiple hats and multiple pairs of gloves, some of them quite bulky, and we've just had them in carrier bags, and he says, will you please make a couple of bags to put them in? So I'm not hunting for him. So we've got one for gloves and one for hats. So these are, I got this fabric, it's the linen texture, I think it was. It linen texture? Anyway, it was on AE Market. It's not a linen fabric, it's a linen look fabric, and it's in like a polyester, but it's a fabric I love. These two bags here are both made in the same fabric. If you are interested in those, I will share the link down below. There is a video tutorial on how to make this bag here. While I'm pointing it out, this big bag here has become my shopping bag. This is called the Beach Tote, which I made out of Chester Beach bag, and I made it out of tea towels and a shower curtain. But you could easily just use fabrics, because I think I give the measurements and everything in the video. That was the last video I did before I went back to work in the current, before I started the job I'm in now. If you know me, you'll know all about that. Anyway, this is the pattern. So I've written a pattern. It's not a pattern that's got photographs in, but it is a written pattern to go alongside the video. There is a video tutorial on how to make this, the Chester Beach bag. It's a big bag. It's got as you can see, it's got a drawstring top. Great for when you go to the beach, and it makes people laugh. I see people looking at it oddly when I'm in Asda, because they still sell those tea towels that I made that with, and I use it now if I'm going shopping on my own, because I can get such a lot in it. So if you're interested, I will link it down below. You can go to my Ko-fi page, and it is free. All my patterns, any patterns, some of them are just supplements to the videos and they don't have any written instructions. They might just have the measurements and things. Some have a pattern pieces that you need. You can go to my Ko-fi account page, and you can download this for free. I've still left them on for free for quite a long time, or pay what you can. So if you want to donate £1 to me or a couple of pounds to me, it's entirely up to you. I've made it that way so that everybody can afford it, and if you can't afford it, you can get it for free, or you can just get it for free anyway. But it's a good pattern. You can make it. It is a rather large bag, so if you're thinking ahead to summer for your summer holidays, for putting all your towels and things in, if you want it like a shopping bag like me, it is just a giant tote bag. And there is a zipper pocket on the back as well, and that front pocket will hold 2 water bottles. Okay, so I thought I'd show that as it's there. The other bag, I don't think you can see that, next to it, that is one I did plan. This one up here, in the William Morris fabric. Trying to figure out where to point, up there in the blue. That was one I planned on doing a pattern for, but again, life has changed so much for us at the moment. I've not been able to do that. Anyway, these were the hat and glove bags I did. They're just big, tall drawstring bags. I had a piece of fabric this size, so that's the size it came out. If you were interested, it's 14 wide by, I think it was 24 tall. 2 pieces, and just to make a drawstring. And I did the drawstring differently this time. I was just looking at YouTube videos that were on there already, and the way this lady did this one, I think it's a lady, I will put a link in the description down below of how she did the drawstring top, because it's not lined, it's French seamed on the sides. The seam at the bottom I've not French seamed, I've just the box corners I've just overlocked, but the sides are French seamed, so when you look into it you don't see any raw seams. But just the way she did the top was a little bit different, so I thought I'll share a link for that. So I've done 2 of those, and if you don't want a seam in the bottom, this one was the width of the fabric, so I had double width, so it was 48 inches long by, I did this one a little bit wider, I think this one was 16 wide, and I used a ½ inch, I'd say ½ inch, an inch. I used an inch seam because it was being turned into a French seam, which means you sew it one way and then sew it the other way. So that was 2 big drawstring bags I did yesterday, and I'm going to, on my Cricut machine, I didn't want to bother embroidering those, on my Cricut machine I'm going to do a giant H and cut out in iron on vinyl HTV. I'm going to do a giant H for hats and G for gloves because he's requested that. So those are the little drawstring bags that I've been making. Other things that I was making, you might have seen a video where I was making all these pouches. So if you're only here to look at the makes, then that's probably pretty much it now. I'll talk about a couple of things I was going to put into my shop, but again, that's a different story, and I'm just going to film another little video after this telling you about that. So I'm going to talk about what's happened, where I've gone, because if you were following me and my patterns, and I was talking about making these patterns, that patterns, if you followed me from the past, you'll know that I was originally, when I was laid off where I was working, I was going to go full-time on here and do pattern writing and video tutorials, and then a process of events happened within a very short space of time, and I couldn't do that, and I had to go back to work full time, working a lot more hours than I did before. And then my husband had an accident, and he got laid off 2 or 3 weeks after me, and then he had an accident, and then so he's not been able to go back to work, so it's been a bit of a struggle, and obviously his health has not been so great. So this is why I've not been around much, because I'm working a lot, working on quite a lot of hours, and then obviously there's a travel to and from, because I've got travelling now, which I didn't have before. And the only real time I get to properly sit and do anything craft-wise when I'm not tired is on a Sunday. Because on a Saturday I'm doing housework and I'm cooking and other things. I might get a bit of craft done, but I go on... there's a lot of things I have to do, so, you know, going into town, doing a bit of shopping. We're not mobile anymore, because not only obviously over the last year and a half he had an accident which he fractured his back, and then that turned out to be, with the amount of pain that he was getting, it turned to be a lot worse than they originally thought. They said it was a mild fracture, and then it turned out to be a severe fracture, not in one place but in two. His L1 and his L2, L1 and his L5, I think that's the numbers. And then he had 3 bulging discs as well, and then he's got really bad spinal stenosis where his nerves are touching the inside of his spine, and it's sending really bad. He gets crippling pain without no painkillers. He's had us barely even touch it. So on top of that, when he had the accident, we'd had a car accident a couple of weeks before. We'd been hit from behind, and he already had a bad knee because he was waiting, you know, for a knee replacement. He'd had his knee, was getting worse over the years. Anyway, obviously when we were hit from behind, it rammed his feet into the pedals, made his knee worse. We didn't know that at the time. That sort of happened as we went along, which then a couple of weeks after that caused him to fall down the stairs, which did all the damage to his back. Anyway, eventually he finally, last year, about September, August, I think, he got his knee replacement. Finally got his knee replacement. So he's had that done, and his knee was recovering. So he's walking a little bit better than he was, which is good. But his back's no better than it was. If anything, he's still in a lot more pain, and then that sends pain down his legs. So he's walking with crutches. So he's had a tough time that way. And just recently, started in September, October, he's got diabetic retinopathy. It came on literally all of a sudden. And he lost the sight, practically lost the sight in one eye, got an infection in one eye, and we were just inundated. The treatment that he had to go through, we were just like, we were at the hospital every day for a couple of weeks, and then every couple of days, and then maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and it just went on for weeks and weeks while they were trying to save his eye because he had such high pressure in it. They didn't think they'd be able to save his eye. Fortunately they have. He's got some scarring on it because he had this infection in it. This is how I think your life can change just so much. Anyway, then finally got rid of the infection because they couldn't do all the other treatment until afterwards. So he's had other treatment since. He's had surgery on it. He's had lots of laser treatment. And he hasn't, fortunately, lost his sight, which they were surprised at because they thought he would lose his sight. But he's only got about 50% at the moment because of the scarring. Might have to have a corneal transplant eventually. So that was getting better, which was good. At least he had his vision in the other one. Although they said they could see stuff happening there, so they treated it anyway. So he's had that one all treated. But then, a couple of weeks ago, he's had a bleed. If you know about anything about diabetic retinopathy, he had a bleed in the back, a bigger bleed, and it's just completely obscured his vision. So he's pretty much at the moment, he's blind in his right eye, and he's only got about 50% in his left eye. The right one, hopefully, it will clear, but it could take several months. And they can't laser it and do treatment on it until it's cleared. So it could end up being surgery on that eye as well. So we don't know where we stand with that, what's going to happen with that at the moment. But saying that, because of all that, because he's got such... because he's got so much trouble with his vision at the moment, obviously he can't go back to work, and he does his best at home. He does do a lot of the housework, and he does a lot of the cooking, but obviously with his eyesight there's a lot of stuff he can't see to do properly, so that's what I'm doing. That's my Saturdays and things as well, so you can see where the time's not coming in for crafting. And during the week when I'm getting home from work, I'm tending to be doing knitting at the moment in the evenings. I didn't realise I had 5 pairs of socks on the go, so I've been doing those, trying to do the other sock to them all, and use up some of my extensive range of hand-dyed wool. Because if you've watched videos of mine in the past, I obviously used to hand-dye wool, so I've got an awful lot of my own and stuff that I bought. So anyway, that's where I am at the moment. So I'm sorry, I know people understand. That's why I've not been able to carry on with the patterns and the tutorials, and I know people still ask me from time to time, will I do this or will I make that? There just isn't the time. I don't get that much time to craft for myself, so I'm afraid I just don't have the time. I've got to roll with it at the moment. Hopefully that will change in the future. Don't know how long it'll be though, so I'm going to try and drop little videos in like this where I'm going to spend my time making things that I want to make, to keep it a hobby at the moment, and then I will hopefully just make a quick little video like this without all this life story on. I can always give updates if people want them, and talk about the things I've made and what I think of the pattern. If there's anything that I didn't like about it or liked about it, like this one I thought was very fiddly, that kind of thing. So I'm going to film another little video about what's happened with Etsy and my shop, and I will hope to see you in the future. Any comments, leave them down below. Like I say, feel free to go to my Ko-fi page and download any patterns if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.